Hi, I am Brenda Brombacher, and I'm the director of the McNair Center for Entrepreneurship and Free Enterprise. I am so excited to be here with the HBU family, and I just started 3 weeks ago, so I can't wait to be learning more with all of our students, our faculty, our staff, and then definitely bring our community back to HBU. I've been blessed to be part of, now the HBU family, so I'm just so excited to get started. I have so many ideas, but I definitely would like to hear more from you as well. So I definitely will have a roster with the students just to create sort of maybe a database of whether you're already an entrepreneur, how can we engage you already, or if you have a family enterprise or have an idea, how can we help you with the McNair Center? So I can't wait to talk about it more with Mr. Jerry, and let's get started.
Well, thank you, Brenda, and it's good to have you here.
Thank you.
So tell me about your background.
Yeah, so originally from Mexico. I came here when I was 10 years old.
Where in Mexico?
Monterrey.
Okay.
And a very entrepreneurial family. My dad had so many businesses, and I actually grew up, just knowing in the business world, you talk about it like clothes design, event halls, party halls, restaurants. But then the crisis happened, economic crisis in Mexico, and my dad just decided to bring us all here to Houston and start all over. So absolutely the American, immigrant story, start from scratch and learn English, get it all started. And our main job was really to study, be better than what my parents could do for us. And that was our sacrifice. And all of that, I'm the oldest of two sisters, so just kind of also being a role model for my sisters, and so I'm the business person in the family. All of my sisters and my mom, they're more in the STEM field, engineering, so I was always trying to help, them with their ideas. How do you actually create it as a business, as a product? So that was already in my lifestyle of sorts growing up, and even just doing sort of playing, with that. I never really understood that was the entrepreneurial mindset. So fast forward, I went to U of H downtown. I did my bachelor's in international business. And from there, I graduated during the recession. So getting into the workforce was really difficult, and, going into job fairs. In my mind then, I thought I was going to be in the oil and gas industry and get a job, internationally. That was my dream, and God had different plans. So I went back to my chair, my advisor in international business, and he said, have you looked into government? Or maybe consider going straight to your master's. Government, international business. No, I haven't thought about it. I did find some internships that it was very interesting at the State Department, and I didn't have a role model. It was through usajobs.gov, and it happened. Then again, I'm a dual citizen, so getting that background check took a lot longer than the normal. And but somehow it worked out. But my parents couldn't afford for me to go to Washington, D.C. So now I had to figure out, okay, how can I save some money, help my parents, so I can get this internship in D.C. Then again, I didn't know anybody there. So I actually worked at a restaurant here in Houston and saved some money during the holidays, and I was able to save some money so I can go to D.C., figure out housing packages there, for all the interns. Back then, you would look into Craigslist to find a house, figure it out. But all of that was really entrepreneurial. The entrepreneurial skills that we now I see are so crucial as a life skill. So I started my career in Washington, D.C. I got sort of the world view of business with different countries. And I was blessed to actually start it was the bilateral trade affairs. They were doing still their negotiations on NAFTA agreements, but they were looking into other trade agreements with South Korea and others. So I learned a little bit of that. But then it evolved to a contract job in the Economic Affairs, Commercial Business Affairs Office. And they were starting the Global Entrepreneurship Program. The goal there was to help citizens create jobs when unemployment rate was really high. And we would do different models in different regions, but especially in the Arab Spring, which is, Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, we started in Egypt when all the protests were starting. And because a lot of people couldn't figure out a way to survive the economic crisis. So it goes back to even my role, my story of why we came to the US in the first place. So for me, that was an understanding that entrepreneurship could be used as a tool for economic policy in different regions, while also teaching the free enterprise and democratic ideals that America's model has. So we would bring American investor delegations into those countries. And again, that was my entry job, is coordinating those delegations and partnerships with all types, like universities, corporations, of all industries, and then figure out a way to create like a business competition or entrepreneurship competition, integrate that with the high tech, low tech, and then just create jobs out of it. See what would happen, the innovation that would come out of it. So I did that for 5 years, and then I ended up also in the Office of Intellectual Property Enforcement. So then the view was a little bit different, but it was more of learning how to protect that innovation.
In the United States government?
Yeah, it's still in the State Department, Economic Affairs, but it's a different office. So I got to see a little bit of perspective of different kinds of innovation and entrepreneurship. I did my master's. It was in diplomacy, concentration in conflict management. And from there, I ended up working now outside of the State Department. I worked at Deloitte as consultant for the government. So that was a really fun also experience, because I got to go to Mexico consulting for the federal government there when it came to opening up the telecom monopoly that they had. So what was the best economic model to use for them? That was short-lived. I loved it, but then because another opportunity came to me, one of the startups we were working with at the State Department realized I was already on the outside, but they received some funding, some really huge grants, that they wanted somebody to be able to manage and liaise and report back to the State Department. And that was as a role as a director of operations. So again, I was like, oh, well, this is a great opportunity. It sure is a risk because it's with a startup. But I think I can do it. So I jumped, and I was with them. It was a global startup. It started as a startup. Then I helped them create it as a nonprofit status, so that the different fundraising and funding models was different as a nonprofit. So they became Griffin Works. But as my role, again, I was learning, wow, you can create a corporation and then change your status as a nonprofit if it makes sense. So all of that experience to say, I came back to Houston, mostly family related, and because it was a global startup, so it just made sense. Come back to family and save some money, and at the same time, do my job remotely. And things changed, funding changed. I mean, we did get eBay Foundation and Caterpillar and even Amazon Web Services. We had huge funding. But I was also itching to do something more local. And that's when everything entrepreneurship related was really spurring here in Houston. I want to say maybe like 2015, 2016. And that's when the city of Houston was also putting together sort of a model, now known as Houston Exponential, where they're bringing in, again, similar to what we were doing with the Global Entrepreneurship Program, corporate, universities of all kinds, to do entrepreneurial initiatives in the city. So I got looped in and found the opportunity with Houston Community College, served there as Director of Entrepreneurial Initiatives and Community Relations for 4 years, created their model with the Southeast region that they have, and I loved it so much. We created so much. I was probably one of the few who created initiatives in Spanish, especially for our immigrant entrepreneurs, but definitely all of our Hispanic population here in Houston that needed a lot of the tools in their own language. They probably know English, but it's just easier when it comes to the knowledge to implement the legalities of things to create your business, to do it in their first language. So that was great. And then HBU happened. Again, I was not expecting it. I saw it as part of an advertised position for the McNair Center. I really knew about the Rice and the St. Thomas, but never really truly understood the one at HBU. I didn't know about it. So when I saw it, I got curious and wanted to understand more, and here we are.
So tell us, you are the director of the McNair Center for Entrepreneurship and Free Enterprise. The McNair Center means a great deal to HBU. I remember when Bob and Janice came to Dr. Sloan's house, and they signed the documents with Dr. Sloan, Mrs. Sloan, and it was a very special moment. I know that, obviously an amazing man and wife, and what a story as far as entrepreneurship, but also faith and character. I mean, so many great things. First, let's begin by tell everybody what the McNair Center for Entrepreneurship and Free Enterprise at HBU, what is it exactly?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it started as a student-centered program and initiative where it would teach the entrepreneurial skill sets and entrepreneurship curricula to students here at HBU. It's transitioned to different directors here as I understand it, but at least for my vision, I want to create this center open really for all kinds of entrepreneurship ideas and innovation. I don't want it just entrepreneurship, but also available for not only students, faculty, staff, the community, make it a real vibrant center where it's like a resource or a hub of information, resources, partnerships, initiatives. So the way I foresee the framework growing is we have the small business development resources. So let's say you're a student, faculty, staff, you have an idea. What do you do with that idea, right? Where do you go? How do you make it a business model and then register it with the state? The funding mechanism, maybe create sort of a business campus model and understand how do you break it down and actually create a business out of it. So that's the Small Business Center. I think I also want to create a track where it is more of the innovation and entrepreneurship, meaning, and this is especially with like the prototypes of products and new services and new apps or new things that could be created with 3D printing, AR, VR, all the types of technologies that we can bring. And I foresee this using the Lighthouse Lab for all of these innovative products, okay?
So help me right there. You said
Yes.
Lighthouse what?
Lab.
Yeah.
So that is also a resource that we have here at HBU. It is currently at the Hinton Center on the second floor, and it's used both for as the McNair Center and as a Lighthouse Lab. I think some of the engineer students are using
Yes.
it, using the 3D printers
Yeah.
and stuff like that, but I will actively want to see initiatives come out of it to create those prototypes, you name it, hackathons, appathons, all kind of challenges that we can create out of it. And then maybe even bring in high school students, even middle school students so that they can see HBU and what we offer here. The third branch that I sort of foresee in the center is also very industry focused or very theme focused. So initiatives for veteran entrepreneurs, minority owned, women, youth, and then on the industry side, like maybe sustainability, social entrepreneurship issues, things that we see with the UN sustainability goals. How can we engage entrepreneurship as a solution for those challenges? The fourth part is the global. Houston, outside of DC, has the most I guess, amount of diplomatic efforts. You know, we have a lot of consulates, even I think more so than New York and other big cities.
Is that right? I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, no,
Makes sense.
It's a shocking thing, and I feel like I want to engage with all the consulates in that sense too. Maybe inviting our economic officers in those consulates and showing the delegations that they bring to Houston when they invest in the city. Maybe there's a platform of students, you know, or our international students even, of what they're doing here at HBU. So I think the global entrepreneurship effort can be so huge, not just locally, but then connecting them with universities across the world, and even learning how entrepreneurship works in other countries, which the models are just completely different, right? So learning those case scenarios, those competitions again. So there's a lot to do with that. And then lastly is the research, you know, maybe with the graduate students or even some students that have case studies and they would like to publish sort of those educational, like academic articles, publish them into the Journal for Entrepreneurship or different publications that we can also develop here at HBU.
Now, and how many McNair Centers are there in universities?
Yeah, so we are, as far as I know, we're 5.
5.
There's 3 here in Houston, 1 at Rice, 1 at St. Thomas, and here at HBU. But then there's 1 in South Carolina, where I think the McNair family started it. And then there's 1, I don't know, I think Minnesota. I confused those states, but it's, you know, another state. And so the McNair Foundation Executive Director, Christy Cooper, is the one that sort of brings us together in quarterly meetings and reporting out that we have to submit to the foundation. But I think her goal is to, at some point, have all the centers collaborate with each other. I am really now, I mean, then again, I've just started my role, but I have started conversations with St. Thomas. And
I was going to ask, do the directors of the various locations communicate together on best practices or what's been learned?
So far, they have reached out and said, yes, this is, you know, the software that we're using for our center, and if it makes sense for your center, you know, we suggest that. So yeah, a couple of them have reached out. Again, I just started, so I foresee that to be even more so as we report things out. And
where do you office, and how do people contact you for more information about the McNair Center for Entrepreneurship and Free Enterprise at HBU?
Yeah, so I think 2 things. The way you can reach me is Brenda or B. Brombacher at hbu.edu. You can also, if you're a student or staff or faculty and already an entrepreneur or want to be engaged with the entrepreneurship field, put bit.ly/McNair Center, okay? Because
Can you spell that?
Yeah, so it's bit.ly-McNair Center. And I can possibly put that in, hopefully our team can put it in the video.
We'll CG it.
Thank you. And so this will be, you know, a living roster where I can get this information so I can understand who in here are already an entrepreneur or who wants to engage. And then I'm located at the Hinton building, but our McNair Center will be transitioning to the new location here at the Morris and Law Center.
Cool. So you'll be in the incredible new building.
Yes, I'm excited for that because even the messaging behind it, you know, the foundations of America and the Constitution and the economic freedoms and the free enterprise that comes about it.
It cross-pollinates with the teaching of the Center for Law and Liberty.
Yes, so I can't wait, and I believe that's happening in the summer, July timeframe.
And the synopsis of things you shared, do you have any communication or website where people can go and you know, read this again and understand potential connection points?
Absolutely. I think there is a current website at HBU, so if you just Google McNair Center HBU, it will pop up with this information. It will have to be updated. It's a work in progress, so the strategy, the messaging, I will put that out there as well. I will want to invite community and see our campus, all kinds of partners that we can create out of this too, and just invite them to our family.
It's very clear, Brenda, your background. I mean, it's certainly well positioned you for this assignment here in Houston.
Thank you.
And as we know, this is the crossroads of the world in Houston. It's a global city. People are here from everywhere. You know, how would you, and to a student, how would you define entrepreneurism or entrepreneurship?
That's an interesting, because it can go both ways. It can be the entrepreneurship of the hard skills of actually creating a business, and so sort of like going through the foundations of registering your business and all of that. But entrepreneurship is the creation of new ideas, products, or services that students or faculty will come about and can introduce that into the market and be viable. Like they can be sold into the market. There is a need for it, or you know, maybe there's a niche that a student finds out that it's not created, and we can create that. It can also be intrapreneurship, meaning you can actually be creative and doing all these new things in a corporate setting. So that's something that a lot of people don't know, and I want to have this message out. You can be a nurse, you can be an artist, you can be a lawyer, you can be a business person, and be considered intrapreneur in wherever you work, right? Pandemic happened, right? And we started seeing entrepreneurship as a skill set. So entrepreneurial mindset is also used in the professional development settings. How can you be more innovative in what you do? How can you be more resourceful in what you do?
And the pandemic forced innovation with universities, even in the teaching modality.
Absolutely. You had to go digital, right? And learning that way, how can you be resourceful and communicate what you need to communicate and be entrepreneurial that way? So yeah, it has a lot of meanings. And I think our center will touch on those points and all those meanings.
Brenda, we really appreciate you talking with us today. And I noticed here it said that you enjoy spending time with family, friends, playing with your two doodles, Bella and Beau, traveling as well as playing the piano.
Yes.
Yeah, that sounds good. Very good. The McNair Center for Entrepreneurship and Free Enterprise has been specifically placed at HBU, and it is a great opportunity for every student, every faculty member. I love entrepreneurism. I love the whole entrepreneurial way of thinking. To me, it's a very natural way of thinking, creative ideas that give value, and in some instances, most instances, you can monetize. This is a center that could stretch your thinking and help you become that person you dreamed of becoming. Learn more about that by contacting Brenda Brombacher, named director of the McNair Center, B. Brombacher at hbu.edu. We'll keep that on the screen, 281-649-3460. This is another reason to connect with HBU. You can check us out, become a student, hbu.edu/admissions, 281-649-3211. Remember our graduate school, nearly 1,000 graduate students, hbu.edu grad, 281-649-3269. And of course, students that are a part of the HBU family in 42 states across the United States. They do it digitally. You know, 24 years ago, when a nerdy guy started selling books on the internet, a lot of people didn't take him seriously, and now everybody takes Amazon very seriously. Redefined retail. That's called innovation. It's called entrepreneurship. You can connect with HBU, hbuonline.com, 855-428-1960. Brenda, thanks for being with us. Thanks for sharing. And look, let us know how we can help you get the message out and what the center's doing so that we can hopefully be a resource to you in marketing throughout the campus and beyond.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here.